Well, good Monday morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. Man, it is great to be back. Oh, my goodness. I had a ball, but I am a little bit in withdrawal because having this much football, having my guys around, Cowboys Mafia with David Wiley, Game Time Brian, and Primetime Phil. Everybody's back home safe and sound, and we're here back at the Red Brick House, and it's back to life, back to reality. Actually, I've got to hit the road and get back to working on finishing this old farmhouse up in Central Virginia and getting ready for a lot of things. It's going to be busy here because I've got to go back to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania and do some things. And no, Eagle fans, when I go to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, that does not mean I want to be an Eagle fan, okay? Stop flattering yourselves, okay? I know a bunch of y'all said, come to the dark side, leave the Cowboys alone. You want to drop that zero and get with this hero. But the thing about the Eagles is, to me, I believe that they're a little bit full of themselves. The more I listen to them, the more I realize that, they're full of crap. They're all over us talking about how bad we choked last year. Wait a minute. I want you to think about everything that's happened this offseason. The Cowboys, of course, today signing Zeke Elliot. We signed Eric Kendricks. Moves that aren't moving the needles, per se, right? Look at the Eagles, of course, getting Devontae Smith and getting A.J. Brown re-signed, signing Saquon Barkley as well as other guys. You see them doing all kinds of great things. This isn't new. This has been the last 3 years. After the 2020 season where Dak Prescott ended up breaking his foot and we went 6-10, the Cowboys have done nothing to get better in the way that the Eagles have. During that time, they let go Amari Cooper, still a great receiver. We'd let go Zeke. Now we let go Tony Pollard. We'd let go starting offensive linemen and Connor Williams and Connor McGovern and Lyle Collins. We brought in, big moves, literally big moves have been like Jason Peters. And of course, you always get the Cowboys don't care about winning. They're not doing anything to help themselves. So the Cowboys, making the playoffs on a team that wasn't doing anything to win. They weren't doing big things like, say, the Denver Broncos, where they got Randy Gregory, they went out and got Russell Wilson, or the Jets that go out and sign Aaron Rodgers and every receiver that he's ever thrown to. The Cowboys have done none of this stuff, and that they weren't picked as the offseason champions like the Eagles coming off of a Super Bowl. So, which is a bigger disappointment? The Cowboys, who this time last year they said they suck, Mike McCarthy can't coach, Dak Prescott is a bum, that go to the playoffs and lose, or the team that was 10-1 with the cake part of their schedule left that end up being the 5th seed losing to Tampa Bay. I don't think you guys remember that you guys were the Super Bowl favorite and lost as the same weekend that the Dallas Cowboys did. And see, this is where I think the things turn. We get caught up in names. We get caught up in big moves, free agent signings. We get excited about these things. But typically, those big moves don't necessarily lead into Super Bowls. What you have to have is, and don't get me wrong, don't say, I'm not poo-pooing on free agents. But the thing is you can't build a team constantly through just free agents. What your free agencies are there to do is they're the icing on the cake. You got to have a cake to put the icing on. You can't just keep getting icing, icing, and icing, and icing, and icing. You put your fork in it, and it's like, where's the substance? It's all freaking icing. Although that's not bad because, I always like at my mom's house, when my mom cooked, okay, and she had to get, man, I'm eating the batter. Oh my God. Like, Mom, leave a couple spoons of them oatmeal cookies in there. Leave a little extra ice in this stuff. And I guess that's why I'm as big as I am, and I do need to start losing some weight because Detroit done put on probably 10 pounds. And that mom's spaghetti is definitely sticking to my ribs. It won't come out. But the Eagles, the question is, are the Eagles really superior to the Cowboys? Now, the moves the Cowboys have made are not sexy. But here's the thing. If we go back and look at the 3 playoff losses over the last 3 years, the thing that stands out is we got out-physicaled. San Francisco bludgeons us. We have been kind of a finesse team. With Dan Quinn, he wants guys that are lightweight, fast, heat-seeking missiles. Sometimes you can't just have the smart bombs to win the battle. Sometimes you just have to go out and just beat the crap out of people. And that is what the Cowboys are trying to become. They're trying to get bigger. They're trying to get stronger. They're trying to get nastier. Tyron Smith, still a great tackle. But Tyron Smith is not bludgeoning people like he used to in the past. And that's where getting Tyler Guyton, he'll have his lumps, but will be a guy that will be able to start kind of doing that thing. The Juggernaut in there, Cooper Beebe. That's my nickname, Juggernaut. I was showing my wife pictures of Juggernaut and him and saying, here's what I need. He's going to be our Juggernaut in the middle. Those are guys that are going to help us to get the dirty yards, to help us when you're going against other physical teams. Now, the question is this the moment that the Cowboys pivot? Is this the moment that the Cowboys have literally waited, don't fire till you see the whites of their eyes, that they had a base team already? Is this the moment that they start looking and saying, we've got all these draft picks for next year, let's start making some moves now, like we did last year with Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks? Because what they did with the draft, at least on paper, they've taken care of the holes in the offensive line. They've taken care of some of the losses on the defensive side. If I am a betting man, or if I am a person, now I'm a Cowboys fan, so I'm going to be skewed. But there's no way in the world that you don't look at our linebacking core today versus this time last year and say, it's in better shape. It's definitely in better shape than it was when we ended the season, where we had a safety playing linebacker, 207 pounds, and Leighton Vander Esch was gone. We didn't have a thumper at all. I will say that our offensive line is going to have growing pains, but I think by the end of the year could be better. Having a young guy there as opposed to Tyron Smith that'll get worn down as the season goes on, you may be better off. And B.A.M. being replaced by a young guy who's going to have growing pains too could be at least holding serve for the offensive line for the last few years. The running game, that's what you got to worry about. But as Jerry said, is the cake's not finished, or at least that's what I said, the cake's not baked yet. The funny thing is listening to the draft grades. You have to actually give it to the Cowboys that ended up having 3 players rated 38 or better on their drafting them. They pulled out a miracle. I say at the moment, you have to give them an A- at the worst. The talking heads will basically say the Cowboys didn't do anything. The question is, are the Eagles superior to the Cowboys, the team that ended up going downhill and losing 6 or 7? Or is it up for debate? Let's check out what the talking heads have to say today. I haven't actually listened to them this morning, but let's listen in to hear what they have to say.
a ton of players. Dallas needed offensive line help. Philly needed the secondary help. The Giants obviously got a wide receiver for the first time in Daniel Jones' career. So, look, I think everybody did fine. I think
why do we get a wide receiver?
If you liked the Eagles to win the NFC East Thursday morning, you still can. If you like the Cowboys to win the NFC East Thursday morning, well, then you just haven't been paying attention to this show for the last 5 years.
I mean, the Cowboys have gotten worse, and I thought this weekend, Mike T, the Eagles got much, much better. I made this point earlier. Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, this doesn't mean they're going to be great players, but they were both guys that many people, including me, expected to hear their names called much earlier than they did.
100%, and they addressed needs, like you said, even going back to C.J. Gardner-Johnson. But I think more fundamentally, Saquon Barkley is going to keep Jalen Hurts healthy. That's why I think they win the division.
How about it, Danny?
Yeah, the Eagles are the best team in that division, and they had one of the best drafts in football. They attacked both, not only needs, Greeny, but they got two really good players. Their secondary was not good last year. If these two young men are really good players, this secondary would be markedly improved. I do think for the Eagles season to be kind of what it was 2 years ago, the young kids from last year's draft have to step forward. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean. I'd say this about the Cowboys. The Cowboys had a really good draft, but they're going to rely on those two offensive linemen they took in the first 3 rounds, Guyton and Beebe. If those two players are really good players, I still think this would be a 2-team race with Philadelphia as the favorite.
You know, I'm not sure how many people watched our pre-draft show Friday night, because there was an NBA game on up against us, but we were talking, and Lewis and Mel and Booger and I, and in particular, that the Cowboys are really in trouble. I mean, that was the general feeling that emerged even more than I expected. There was a moment in time last year when the Eagles were 10-1. I understand that it all fell apart in hideous fashion. But it's not like they're starting from zero. They were already a good team. And the Cowboys, they have so many glaring needs and so little opportunity. They signed Zeke Elliot. Is that official, by the way?
They're pending a physical. I believe that's expected to happen.
I mean, this is their answer at running back? I'm confused.
Yeah, Greedy, here's context. The Philadelphia Eagles draft Will Shipley to be a backup. He would, by far, be the best running back for the Cowboys.
So they're still going to do something at running back, right?
I believe they will. Running backs always shake loose. I think there are guys that could get traded and cut this summer that could be appealing to them.
Why is Dan doing that? What?
I mean, Zeke was solid last year behind a really bad offensive
line. They were really
bad.
bad.
Here's the thing that's going to happen for Dallas. Again, if those two offensive linemen they drafted in the first 3 rounds are 2 good starters, huge for their offensive line. The second element of this, when does CeeDee Lamb show up?
Correct. And I mean, without a new contract, I think it's very likely the answer to that is not for a very long time. So that's a whole other set of issues they have to deal with. Let me get in one more because it's fun and it is actually also potentially interesting. The Raiders didn't get a quarterback in 2024. Come on.
All right, we'll leave it right there. Like I said, I have not watched it this morning and listening to them and things. You know, they basically are saying the Eagles had the greatest draft out there. They plugged some needs. They literally have said that, you know, if the Cowboys offensive linemen, you know, they're going to be relying on them, but aren't they going to be Eagles relying like on a corner? Aren't they going to be relying on small linebackers on their defense? And they literally said, you know, they need some of the players from last year to step up. Well, we're not going to get that same kind of step up. See, this is where you realize that this is more about, you know, getting people to watch than anything else. We'll see. We'll see where all of this goes for the season. It's good to be back and start focusing in on getting ready for the season. It's going to be crazy because, you know, before you know it, training camp's going to be here. 3 weeks from now, I'll be actually in Vermont, believe it or not. We're going to be doing a community build. I'll be there for about a week. Then, of course, that's the end of May is upon us. And then we got June, which is the OTAs and minicamp and all that. And then we have July. Training camp's right there. We're 129 days away, people, from the kickoff of the season. 129 days. And that's going to be here a lot sooner than you know. All right, good people. I got to get on the road and get to work, get some work done, and try and pay some bills. I appreciate everybody who has been here and been part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. We are. One thing I always like to say is I'm not afraid to try something different. Not afraid. And some things work, some things don't. I think our draft coverage of giving you the fan perspective, I think was definitely different, and I think it was good. Some people like it, some people don't, and that's fine. I don't need everybody to like what we're doing. I just need some of y'all, and I appreciate the ones that are truly diehard fans here. And I'll be seeing you guys soon. Peace.